long. You joined this program a month before the election, and you talked about Vice President Harris's chances of winning. Take a look at this.
By the standards of today, I think she can win overwhelmingly. Given how divided the country is, overwhelming may be winning by 100,000 votes or 80,000 votes in these key battleground states. I think that.
Why do you think that Kamala Harris didn't win and win overwhelmingly?
Well, I think Joe Biden's decision to step aside and pass the torch was the right decision. It gave us a chance to win. It didn't give us a guarantee. And I thought she could win. And I thought she could win in all the battleground states. But ultimately.
Hey, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. This time, we're tackling the 2024 election fallout. Specifically, some early reactions from the Democrats and, let's just say things are getting a little interesting.
Interesting, yeah. Maybe even a little tense.
Okay, so right before the election, remember all those predictions? I mean, Senator-elect Schiff was practically guaranteeing a landslide for Harris.
It's kind of wild to think about that now, right? Given the actual results. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of optimism from that side.
And now, not so much. Schiff's initial response focused on the anti-incumbent wave and then economic anxieties, kind of where you're working full-time but still struggling.
Yeah, that's definitely a sentiment that's been brewing for a while. I think Schiff's hitting on something important here. That disconnect between the Democrats and the working class, it's not just some political theory. This is about real people's lives.
Exactly. Real people, their anxieties, their hopes. But here's where things get spicy. You've got other big names, like Nancy Pelosi, straight up blaming Biden for staying in the race too long.
Right. It's like a full-blown blame game at this point.
Totally. And what's fascinating is Schiff's response. He doesn't just deflect. He drops this kind of political bombshell. He says, look, I think the entire Democratic Party bears the responsibility, myself included, and the former president.
Mm-hmm.
They mounted an effective campaign. You have to give him credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
He throws himself, Obama, the whole party under the bus.
Dad, that's not your typical political spin. On the surface, it seems like a we all messed up kind of thing. But there's got to be more to it, right?
Okay, I'm all ears. What are we missing?
Well, think about it. Schiff was one of Trump's biggest critics, deeply involved in the impeachment. And now he's basically saying that he and even Obama share some blame for Trump's comeback.
Whoa, that's a pretty big statement. Is he implying that the attacks, the impeachment, all of that somehow backfired?
It's definitely possible. And if that's the case, then this isn't just blame. It's acknowledging a huge miscalculation. Maybe, just maybe, they underestimated Trump, his staying power, his ability to tap into that economic anxiety that Schiff keeps bringing up.
So are we saying the Democrats are having like a full-blown identity crisis? Like they don't even understand what they're up against anymore?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But they're definitely wrestling with something bigger than just losing this election. Schiff's statement, whether he meant to or not, opens up a ton of questions about the party, their direction, their strategy, how they see the American voter.
And this is all happening while they're pointing fingers, trying to figure out who messed up. I wonder if all this fighting is distracting them from the real issues, like what Schiff's trying to say about the economy.
That's a great question. Are they so busy fighting amongst themselves that they're missing the big picture? And if so, what does that say about their ability to reconnect with the voters they've lost?
That's something we'll definitely be exploring. But first, let's get back to Schiff and this focus on the economy. It seems like he's trying to move the conversation away from the blame game towards something more, constructive.
Absolutely, and that's where things get really interesting, because Schiff's economic message might be the key to understanding not only what went wrong, but also what the Democrats need to do now to regain their footing.
So we've got Schiff talking about economic anxieties on one hand, and on the other hand, he's saying even Obama is partly responsible for this Trump comeback. Are these two things connected?
That's the big question, right? Like, remember that feeling we were talking about, that the American dream is kind of slipping away? It seems like Schiff's saying the Democrats haven't really addressed that. They haven't given people solutions that feel real, solutions that people struggling can actually connect with.
And he's including the Obama years in that criticism, which is pretty bold. I mean, Obama's still like a hero to a lot of Democrats.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a risky move.
Yeah.
But it also shows he's willing to challenge the party, question those assumptions they've been working with for years.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. What exactly is Schiff proposing? What does he think the Democrats should be doing differently about the economy?
Well, he's not giving us a whole policy plan or anything, but his main message is pretty clear. The Democrats need a vision for the economy that really resonates with everyday Americans. He keeps saying people need to believe that hard work can still get you a good life.
So basically, stop talking about abstract theories and start talking about what people actually worry about every day.
Exactly, like kitchen table issues. It's about connecting with people emotionally, tapping into their hopes and fears. Think about Trump's campaigns. He was great at doing that, even if his policies didn't always make sense.
So are you saying the Democrats need to be more like Trump? Like adopt his style, his way of talking?
Not exactly, but they can learn from what he did well. Trump knew how to connect with people. He made them feel like he understood their struggles. And he gave them simple solutions, even if they weren't always the best ones.
And are the Democrats failing to do that? Are they coming across as too intellectual, too out of touch with what the average American is going through?
It's something they need to think about, for sure. And it's not just about style, it's about the policies, too. Do their policies actually help people feel economically secure? Or do people think they're just helping certain groups?
So it's not enough to just talk about the economy. They have to actually get results. But how do they do that in this political climate? Everything is so polarized and divided.
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? They need to bridge the gap between their progressive ideas and the concerns of working class Americans, the ones who feel left behind by globalization and all that.
And remember, this is all happening while the Democrats are still reeling from this loss. They're trying to figure out who to blame and what to do next. It's like an existential crisis for the party.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a defining moment for them. How they deal with this will determine their future. Will they just retreat into their own corners? Or will they find a way to come together around a common goal, a message that speaks to all Americans?
Well, if Schiff's comments are anything to go by, he's definitely pushing for that second option. He wants his party to look at themselves honestly, admit their mistakes, and find a way to reconnect with the voters they lost.
And he makes some good points. But whether the rest of the party is listening, that's the question.
And that's where things get really interesting for you, dear listener. Because this fight within the Democratic Party, it's like a smaller version of a much bigger debate happening in our society. It's about the future of America, our economy, our values.
It's about who we are and who we want to be. And that's a conversation we need to have, even if it gets a little uncomfortable sometimes.
It's amazing how this deep dive into Schiff's comments has gone in so many directions. We started with figuring out who to blame for the election. And now we're talking about what it means to be a Democrat.
Yeah, it shows you how connected things are, Schiff's trying to change things inside his party, but it makes you think about what everyone's worried about in the country.
And we were talking earlier about how Trump connected with people's anxieties.
Yeah.
Is there something to learn from that, even if his actual policies weren't the answer?
Well, that's the hard part. Trump did things his own way, said things that other politicians wouldn't. Can the Democrats, or any party really, be that real, that authentic, without doing the same kind of divisive stuff?
It's like walking a tightrope. Connect with people's emotions, but don't push them away. Offer solutions, but don't make things too simple. And they have to do all this while trying to bring together their own supporters and voters who feel like they've been forgotten. That's a lot to ask.
It really is. And it gets to the core of what we've been talking about. The Democrats are at a crossroads. Do they keep doing what they're doing and hope for the best? Or do they try to appeal to more people, even if it means changing some of their core beliefs?
And they don't have much time to figure it out. The next election is only 2 years away. And you can bet the Republicans are already planning how to use this to their advantage.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just some theoretical discussion. What happens with the Democrats will have real consequences.
So as we wrap things up, I want you, our listeners, to think about something. If Schiff is right, and the whole party is responsible for this loss, what does that mean for their future?
Can they admit their mistakes, learn from them, and come back stronger? Or will they keep fighting amongst themselves and end up pushing away the very people they need to win back?
That's the question, isn't it? And honestly, I don't think anyone knows the answer right now, not even Schiff. But it's a question that's going to shape politics for a long time. So keep paying attention, keep listening, and keep thinking critically.
That's all for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us.